Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we publish world-changing wellness books. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This interview is part of a powerful series to celebrate Brave Kids books, a new imprint from Brave Healer Productions. The mission is to share brave words with kids and their parents all over the world so we can learn more about all of the magic life has to offer. And here to talk about their book, Becoming the Enchantress, is Kristin Kowalski Ferragut and the illustrator, her daughter, Coley Dolmance Ferragut. Welcome, you guys. How's it going?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's going well. I think so.
Good. All right, you guys, listen up. So Kristin is the author of a full-length poetry collection, Escape Velocity, from Kelsey Books, and the children's book that we're going to talk about today, Becoming the Enchantress, a magical transgender tale, from Loving Healing Press. Her poetry has appeared in Beltway Quarterly, Bergen, right? Did I get that right? Bergen, you can correct me if I'm butchering. Okay. Anti-heroin chic, fledgling rag. You're challenging me today, and Little Patuxent Review, among others. And of course, today I'm going to be hooking you all up with the website and the places you can find out more about all of this today. So Coley Dolmance Ferragut is illustrator of this amazing book. She's an animator, digital artist, and actor who typically investigates themes of class and social justice in her work. And you guys can find her on Instagram. And I'm going to have the link for you down below as well. So Kristin, let me start with you. Tell me a little bit of the story of how this idea for your children's book came about.
Absolutely. I needed to explain a transgender parent to an 8-year-old boy, and I couldn't quite find a good inroad. I had shared with him a video of Caitlyn Jenner, but it didn't, the voice made him laugh. He was kind of stumped. He didn't know I was doing that. I tried to talk to him, but it was going a little bit over his head. So I just needed a book because it's such an important parenting tool that I've always relied on, and there was no book. So I wrote a story and I illustrated it with my little stick figures, and I took him to a restaurant that he'd like, but not so much that we'd ever have to go back if it didn't go well. And I read the story to him and shared with him my pictures, with which he was very generous. And he, maybe almost to the last page, he stopped and he said, "Hey, what if that's like Dad? Oh, what if?" And so it worked. And then he went on to talk about Pokemon, and I didn't push it, but he thought about it, and, every day, couple of days, he'd bring up something about it. And he just sort of came to peace with it without having to have a really intense, difficult, more weighty discussion. So it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously didn't write the book, but when I read it the first time, I thought it was very much accurate to what it explains it perfectly. Of course.
And so how did you feel when, I'm assuming your mom came to you and said, "Hey, do you want to do the illustrations?" How did that go down, Coley?
Oh yeah, of course. So when that went down, when she asked me, I was at first like, that's a big project, but I've been needing a big project because, I need to learn how to do stuff. And also what a wonderful project to do a first large project on, It was something very personal to me and something that I also felt like needed to be shared. There wasn't a children's book about it. And even we left it kind of alone for a couple of years before coming back to it. And when we finally did come back to it, there still wasn't really any books out about it. And if, of course, someone would have done it eventually, but why would we wait for someone else to do it when we had the perfect opportunity to do it here? And wouldn't it be better to be the people who were most involved with the situation that the book is based off of and most close to that to be the ones to make it come to fruition rather than some other illustrators? So I took up the project and I'm very happy I did.
Yes, that's awesome. I love how you guys go through. There's such beautiful pictures. I'll just show a few for those who are watching our video. But I loved getting to the end, Kristin, and reading the For Parents and Guardians section. And we have to remember that this topic is a little bit new for people. And they're not really sure how to talk about it. And they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And there's all this stuff out there about it. And I think that, so kudos to you guys for saying, yeah, we'll do that book, and for everything you just said, Coley, because that's brave. And I'm happy that you guys did that. It needs to be that we start to have more discussions, which is part of the mission, of having you on today and having a talk about it and kind of being the ones to ignite those conversations, and conversations that are full of awareness and overpower the judgment. So I think that's super important. So part of, I think, what I rely on now in terms of having those great conversations is my awareness. It's a practice that I have created a discipline out of, and thinking about my what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and then what I'm about to be speaking is really important. And I always wished I had that connection, like with my intuition as a kid, but I assume we're all born with it, but I think I lost it somewhere along the way. And I wonder how that was for you growing up.
I had reason to be thinking about that quite a lot lately. I mean, the last year or two, especially the last week, really, especially. I feel like when I was young, it was just something that I connected with and trusted. And I would have thought of myself as intuitive. And I didn't even redefine myself as not while I was losing it, right? It's a process of going through school and being more socialized and being told how and what to think and the right way to think, and the infallibility of reason, etc. I definitely have not trusted my intuition at all in years. And it's not that I haven't had it, but I'd rationalize or reason it away or not attend to it. But recently I've kind of gotten back in touch with it. And it's really pretty powerful. I made some excellent decisions just based on that sense, that feel that I'm learning to trust again, which is kind of beautiful.
Pretty badass, right?
Yeah, badass indeed.
Definitely. Yeah, my journey with my intuition has not gone very far because I'm still pretty young. But I've noticed for almost as long as I can remember, I try to avoid just going off my intuition, because in most situations where my intuition pops up, it's a social event or it's a social environment. And I don't want to make anyone else feel like uncomfortable, or I don't want to like disregard anyone, which has taught me in a couple situations where I should have trusted that intuition, but did not. And I'm trying to learn to trust it more and trust myself more than like a general population of just people saying, no, that's a good idea, you should do that. Because I've made decisions that I still regret because I didn't follow my intuition. So it's something I'm trying to more rationalize now.
Well, and how cool that you can have conversations about it and even understand the word. I don't remember having conversations with my parents about even what that was. And then, oh my gosh, well into my adulthood, my training as a holistic practitioner and all of the meetings up with fellow healers and people who were really, very great at talking about what that was. I started to understand that the sensations and messages I was being given inside my actual body were the language. And it's like a language, you have to learn the language, right? So I'm excited actually to be able to talk with you, Coley, about it, because as you go on, that will serve you in so many different ways. So you guys, like growing up, watching my own two kids, they're adults now, 18 and over, grow up, I always worried about doing the right thing, saying the right thing or wrong thing, acting in the right ways. And I think that great parents actually have a certain amount of this kind of awareness, no matter how they were brought up. So Kristin, how do you think we can be better parents?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have always been aware that it's about making space for your kids to feel comfortable talking. And most of that time they're not talking, you're just there. And but they know you're there, and they might start talking. And that's when you learn things. That's when really dynamic conversations happen. It's always a struggle though, making that space. So I feel like I should, and could make it more, but it's hard to carve that out and do a balance. And so figuring out the balance, I think, would make me anyway a better parent.
I like that answer a lot because I feel it in my mom, and she was just there no matter what. And it didn't really matter if there was something to say or not say. I could just always rely on the fact that she was there, and I'd be able to connect with her if I needed it. And whether I did, it didn't even really matter. It was just that knowing, kind of like having that insurance. It was a really good feeling. So now we have to be brave and ask Coley about what she thinks makes a great parent.
I think a big part of it is just being supportive. There's multiple things that I've come to my mom about that I, at first, was a little nervous about if she'd be supportive of it or not. But I've never really been turned away from anything. She supports all of my aspirations. She supports all of my goals. She supports me and who I am and who I want to be. And I really appreciate that, because it's sad that more parents don't accept that in their children. The most obvious one is, hey, I want to be an artist. I want to do big things with my art. I want to make a series, an animated series one day. And most parents would be like, that's unrealistic. Starving artist, get a real job, become a lawyer. No, she really supports me in whatever makes me happy. It's not just about finances. It's not just about whatever. It's about feeling fulfilled, and it's about me being truest to myself. And I think a lot more parents need to remember that when giving advice to their kids about what to do. Because I've seen a lot with my friends, they're like, I want to do this, but they feel pressured into going into a different job or pretending to be a certain way because of the people around them and their parents. So I'm just really grateful to have that support with me. So thank you.
Yes. and isn't it cool to hear that from her too? I think about this a lot. We are thinking things in our head all the time, and we're just living our lives, but we're not really expressing out loud to the people that mean the most to us what that is exactly, right? And it's such a gift to be able to hear it. And I always there was a moment where I realized it was an aha for me. My parents were always just doing the best they could with the information they had at the time, the upbringing they had. But my problem was it took a while for me to get to this love and forgiveness stage about the stuff that I thought that they screwed up about, right? But then you better, you do better. So now I try to move into my own parenting, but really you guys know it's about all relationships, with as much of that knowing that people are doing the best they can in the moment, as I can. So Kristin, does this resonate with you? How's it played out on your journey with your own parents?
It absolutely does. My parents are very human. I guess all of us are, of course, but I was always aware of some great struggle, great pain in my parents. So it sort of gave me a sense of compassion for them generally. But then I turned this one's age and, a little bit younger even. And she's not like this, but, I had that arrogance of youth, you hit a certain age and you suddenly know everything and they're wrong and you could do better. But yeah, I eventually, of course, shed that because it's just hard. Life is just hard, right? So that sort of had me return to my compassionate view and really appreciating so many things that they did and so many struggles that they had and have sympathy for in ways I was probably hurtful with no intent, of course, except for not having that perspective. But now I have that perspective and hopefully I'm making amends and, I'm closer now to my dad passed. But anyway, so yeah, it's it's a complicated journey.
Oh, it sure is. And I appreciate you sharing about yours. Everybody has their unique experience. And part of my mission is to really voice things in lots and lots of different kinds of ways, because there's so many different kinds of people. And sometimes a person needs to hear it in the way that only you uniquely can say it and share it, right? So I love hearing your all's stories. Let's talk a little bit about the transgender theme and really what your mission was here specifically. When you imagine other parents and their kids sitting down with your beautiful book, what do you hope?
I hope that it creates space for conversation. Maybe even as it was in my situation, it becomes instructional, and then it doesn't have to be a big conversation about transgender. It's really about the themes of acceptance and love and support. So that's what I hope comes out of it, is that anyone who needs this tool, and I just need it in the world because I know some other parent needs it somewhere, and they should be able to Google it and find it and have it. And then I'd hope that it would both, for the child mainly, but also for the parent or the parents involved, really highlight how the individual doesn't change in some ways, the love doesn't change, the sport doesn't change. It's just what changes isn't what needs to be the most profound thing in the relationship.
I really enjoyed the sections, and this picture just illustrates it so much. I enjoyed I'll peek behind the book here. This one illustrates this piece that you were talking about here, that what matters is we're happy. And it mattered that the parent in this book was happy. And for the kids, I mean, I think sometimes we overthink this and we try to over teach it, when really the kid, you said somewhere in here too, it might've been in the description in the back, it's like, they're just going to get bored if you go into it too much. Like they love their parents. It doesn't matter, right? Talk more about that.
Yeah, I think that children, I don't know, I think all of us just want to be loved and accepted. And when Coley was describing sort of things I did right, thank you. She mentioned that she knows that I always want her fulfilled. I think that's the crucial piece of it. And I think that all kids want their parents fulfilled. It just makes them better people and better parents. You asked before about my parents. When I look back and see maybe skill deficits in parenting, I think that those were really born from their personal miseries. And were they happier? I think the family would have been better. And I think kids feel that. I think they feel when their parents are unhappy or depressed or frustrated. So I think this book is something that would resonate with kids. They'd be like, yeah, do what you got to do, and then we go out and get ice cream, right?
Kids are so smart anyway. I mean, like, they really are the true teachers. Love this one. So Coley, talk to me about how, or maybe both of you, how you guys decided on the characters that you would draw. How did you decide on that Halloween theme and how the characters would be?
Okay, so we were talking, so of course she wrote it way before I was involved, like with the illustrating process and stuff, to teach like my little brother about it. But so she picked out the Halloween theme because it's supposed to be like, it's a good analogy to use costumes to show the transition and to talk about it that way. And that's a very simple way for kids to grasp, because you can be anything on Halloween. You can turn into anybody on Halloween. But in this story, they just stay who they want to be. And the reason why I picked out the characters I did is because I can't draw people.
The truth.
Yet. All my characters that I love and are the most important to me are humans, so I need to draw people. But right now I'm very much stuck on animals and anthropomorphic characters So I thought Halloween, black cats, we can do that. And then we got back from the publisher that black was not going to work because that would just make them into black blobs and you wouldn't be able to tell what was going on because I chose too dark of a black. It was like, can you do like a different color cat? So I was just like, brown. So they're not spoopy Halloween cats, but they're cats, which I would like to say I'm pretty proud of the costumes. I'm sure I could have done better with them, but I didn't want to make them too realistic because let's be real, kids don't go and like commission like a cosplay like level like costume every year. They get what they like can grab, and then from there their imagination takes the costume. So that's what I kind of wanted to embody with the designs of clothing, with the like specifically like the little like what I want to say like our miniature belts around the dragon's tail to look like scales, and how she's just wearing a hoodie that she drew like scales on and like glued some fabric on the top. So yeah, they just kind of all took stuff that like they found around the house, and maybe like some people bought some stuff. Yeah, like those little spikes. Like yes. I feel like they all just kind of grabbed what they had around the house from like whatever and picked their costumes from that. Plus they just liked what they were dressed as. And that's kind of where my head was at with the character designs. I had a lot of fun with background characters. I designed a few of them in advance for the book. And I had a lot of fun like throwing them in the background and like doodling them. Random note, the skeletons were challenging because skeletons and bones and very complex. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the character designs and the Halloween theme.
So Coley, when you're out and about in your community with your peeps, what's the conversation around transgender like for you?
For me, very positive. I have a lot of like non-binary friends. A lot of my friends are trans, and sometimes I don't even find out until like months of knowing them, which great. Like they always feel so validated when I'm like, yeah, no, you're totally passing. You're doing great. It's very normal in my community. It's very like, it's not something that we really think about that much. It's not who you are. Like that's not your only character trait, but it's just part of you, and that's okay. Like, and if you want to use like they, them pronouns, that's fine. If you want to use neopronouns like zer or the them, you can use those too, whatever makes you happy, because it really isn't about the person like that you're talking. It's not about me. It's not about any like other person. It's really about what makes you comfortable and what makes you happy. And can't we just respect what makes people the happiest if it's not that hard for you, you know?
Yeah, awesome. I think you're making me realize we have to understand that the generation coming up with this awareness is in more normal conversations about it. And it's really maybe the older generations that are having the hardest time. What do you think, Kristin? Or maybe Coley had something else to say about that.
I mean, this is the fluidity. It's I mean, just let me be honest, it's a little hard for me to get my head around it. And she's always schooling me, my son too. I mean, it's just a very different mindset. And I still have tons to learn, but I think I'm getting there.
Yeah, definitely. Like you just wrote this book, like you're doing great. Yeah, no, it's very much, I can understand where older generations might be having a disconnect because it's not like something they grew up on. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is transgender and like LGBTQ relationships have been around forever. Like there's never been a time where they haven't existed. A joke within the LGBTQ community is like when two women would live together, and like historians will say they were best friends. We know better. They were much more than that, but historians will say they're best friends. And it's just been around for absolutely forever. And the fact that we don't the fact that we haven't really come to terms with that yet, I think is part of the thing, because it's not a new thing. It's been here forever. It's just, it feels new as we've made new social norms within these last couple centuries. And that has like made it difficult for some people. But I think the more we talk about it and the more we re-normalize it, I think the better it'll be for everyone, because just having things normalized makes it accessible for everyone to understand and to explore themselves. And that was part of the reason why I thought getting this book out was so important. It's just another tool to normalize it, because we don't like talk about it as if it's a big deal. It's just the Enchantress is happy now, and that's all that matters.
Yes. Yes. It's been around since the beginning of time, hidden. And so, now it's coming out into the light, and it's a really, really great thing. And you guys are so awesome for being part of that revolution and bringing it to kids, and mostly for their parents, in a way that they can share in those conversations. Okay, Kristin, let's close out with this last question. What do you think the most important message we can share with kids right now is?
I think globally, generally, I want you kids to have hope. I feel like your generation is saddled with a lot. I mean, just these past 2 years have been brutal, but there's hope. You guys are smart, and there's so many things you can still fix. And history's been through brutal times before, and somehow humans always rise above. It's true. It'll be okay. And then more specifically about the book, I mean, just to try to, I think this generation's better at it than me. So I don't know if I can give them advice, but like Coley said, just to support people in being the best version of themselves, and acceptance and love, and support people's happiness.
Thank you both so much for what you're doing in the world with this book, and for being here today to share it with everybody.
Of course.
Thank you. That was fun.
So listeners, please explore the show notes because you're going to find the website where you can find the book. I've got the Amazon link there hooked up for you, Coley's Instagram as well. Maybe you know a kid who needs a Brave Kids book, right? So to chat about your Brave Kids book idea, visit us and schedule a chat with the publishing team at bravehealer.com. Lastly, everybody, remember, you were born, so you are worthy. Your message matters, and you'll change the world when you're brave enough to share it. See you next time, everybody. Bye, ladies.